So clear on how you will handle warranty. And then there is some freight to distributor warehouse, again freight from distributor warehouse to your customer. There will be all sorts of freights. I have just listed one freight. What is distribution margin? So if we are doing a B2B product, I think most of you, anybody in the B2C business here? Or is everybody B2B? You are B2C. Anybody else who is B2B? Anybody so B2C. Everybody is B2B.
B2B. The end customer using the product. Channels work.
No, then it is B2C. It's just a way that you are okay. So it makes life more interesting, more complicated. So you will have two margins if it is B2B to C. So typically what are these in industrial products, what would this be? And if it is a consumer product, what would this be? What is the product you are selling B2B to C?
Switches.
Okay.
To a builder or a material.
Yeah, but then it is B2B, no?
It is introduced in the consumer.
So typically what would these be?
5 to 30%, 21 kind of
Okay. I have never heard of a 5% distributor margin.
I think electronics is around 30%, 30-40%. In some electricals or so much 60% of workshops.
So typically when you guys have done your cost build up, what have you assumed? So is there anybody here who is selling his products direct to the end customer? I'm talking B2B, I'm not talking B2C. You are, okay? Anybody else? So everybody will have a distributor in between. So typically what would you provide for a distributor in a B2B scenario? Typical range. So retailer would be only in one because it's a B2B product. So retailer and
B2B product.
Around 10 to 30% would be the margin.
yeah, 10% I would be surprised if it was as low as 10%, but you could be right.
10 to 30%.
Typically it also depends on how well known you are. So if it is a very strong brand, very unique kind of a product, then you may get away with this. But otherwise, typically we are talking of 15-20% being the minimum, and it can go God knows how high.
The other factor also is the line of credit is also plays a factor in this margin as well. I mean, if there is a more line of credit, then less the margin from the distribution.
Okay. So your end customer, let's say, is ABC, and you had, let's say, 5,000 ABCs in India. Western India, you will not be able to reach 5,000 ABCs on your own. I'm sorry, let me rephrase. It will be extremely difficult to reach 5,000 ABCs by yourself. So what would you do? You will do appoint a selling agent, or you will appoint a distributor. So when you appoint a distributor, a selling agent is nothing but extension of your sales team. If it is a distributor, it will also depend on what services is he performing. Is he buying the product, stocking it and then selling it, or is he selling it on a pass-through basis, all risk on your account? Obviously, the margins will depend on that. If you carry more of the risk, less of the margin. If he carries more of the risk, more the margin.
But how is it cost-wise?
It is a cost because when you visualize the final price, ultimately you will get to the price on the basis of what value that product you are giving to the customer. There is no doubt about that. But you must have a hang of what is the cost end to end. You must have a feel for that. So, from many angles, from the angle that, let's say, the value which you provide to the customer is 1,000 rupees and your cost end to end is 1,500 rupees. Will you continue in business? So isn't it important for you to know what the end to end cost is? So the end to end cost can also be figured out by industry norms on multiples. Okay, without going through these detailed exercises. But it is still worthwhile. The multiples are top of your mind to get a quick feel, but it's still worth, you need to visualize end to end what the cost will be. So typically in the B2B business, anything less than 3, you have a problem. And in the consumer business, anything less than 5, you have a problem. So if your bill of materials is 1,000 rupees, you must sell at 5,000 rupees to make little bit margin. If you are in a B2B business, you must sell it at 3,000 rupees to make little bit margin. In most situations, there will be situations when even 3,000 is not enough. And there will be situations where 3,000 is more than sufficient. But the 3,000 or the 5,000 is not being determined on multiples or not being determined by your cost. It is being determined by the value which you give to the customer. Where we will have a full session on how to determine value later on. So ultimately, it is important to know that from a cost and a multiple point of view, because if right in the beginning of the game, if the value is, let's say, 4,000 and your minimum price at which you need to sell this is at 6,000, we are all wasting time. Then figure out how that cost can be brought down or how your value can be increased. It can be many things. Scale is one. It can be some value engineering being done. Improved services can be another one. Anything which you do in business is a cost. And somebody has to pay for that. And that somebody is you. It's not the customer. I'll give you an example. The machine tool business, we are talking of this fabrication shop. So, you know, these carbide tools, tip tools and the other tools, that are basically two global players. Sandvik and what's that other American guy? I'll get the name now. So, one of them, for large players, large users, said that if we know what you, and the machine tools which normally is used in a machine shop, you can broadly predict it, but you cannot predict it very accurately. Because depending on the nature of the job, the tool will change. And something is forecasted for use and you use more of that. So suddenly your machine shop comes to a halt because of wrong planning, because that particular tool is not available. So when these guys realized that, one of them said, forget your forecasting, I will come and, if you use these 10 tools, I will come and keep a selection of these 10 tools in your workshop. And the day you use it, you draw one and the meter for invoicing starts from that day. So the way it happens is that he will come once a week, he will see what all you have pulled out from there and he will replenish. And the difference will be invoiced to you. Okay? Business model clear? Okay. Is there a cost to this? What he is doing?
Yes.
And incidentally, the other guy followed within 3 months. Huh? So that supposed competitive edge of improved service was no longer there. But once the customer, we were used to that in Sanmar. Both the guys used to come and keep all the machine tools because we were a large consumer. And absolutely our planning guys said, thank God, one less item to worry about. So what is the cost in that? It's nothing but a business innovation on how to sell. And the reason I'm giving this example is that anything you do, any business innovation you do, there is a cost to it. Nothing comes free. So what is the cost in this innovation? Okay. Then? Okay. Sorry? Okay, that is a one-off.
Even the unused item is a charge to you. It only pays only when he uses. So whatever is the unused time, even that falls as a cost.
He doesn't, he will take it back, no? And he will sell it to somebody else. And typically all that will happen is that instead of being consumed over 3 months, it will get consumed over 4 months. So there is an inventory carrying cost. Other than that, there really isn't a, and they are not giving this service to every fabricator under the sun or every machine shop under the sun. They are giving this to the large users who buy from them regularly. Animatry, that's the name. The two names, Sandvik and Animatry.
Your cost of replacing them, regular checking activity.
There is no, you're dealing with credible players. They are not going to consume and say that you never kept this there.
No, not like that. I'm saying that the person who used to, at least keep a machinery stock for 3 months. So 3 months, one purchase. But if you say that weekly I'll come and I'll replace the cost, then that becomes a weekly carrying cost from your side. Again the freight, the additional freight. Then the person has to be appointed for doing this weekly, week on week basis. So everything, the entire unused
Exactly.
becomes a cost.
So there is a cost. I think that was the point we were trying to make, that a business innovation landed up by having a cost. So it's important for you to visualize this. Now, whether we categorize this as variable, fixed, semi-fixed, let the accountants break their head over that. As business people, it is important for us to understand what is it that we are getting involved in.
Was the situation profitable?
Yes, I think it was. If you reduce pain points for your customer, it's always a good thing. And this was a pain point for a customer. If a customer, his shop doesn't come to a halt because of you, it is always a benefit for you. And sometimes your shipment delay can also cause this line to come to a halt. Very high. How many of you understand the concept, before we come to fixed cost, how many of you understand the concept of break-even? So what is break-even?
Revenue should be equal to cumulative cost.
What is cost? Variable, fixed?
All two.
Okay. I don't think
It's
it's,
a no profit, no loss situation.
sorry?
It's a no profit, no loss situation.
On what basis?
From the way needs to variable strategy.
That point is, it's not being.
Okay.
If
Any other interpretation?
Whatever you invest in the company.
Capital cost plus the cost of incurring, cost of running business.
You are talking payback, not just in variable cost, not break-even.
at X number of units sold, you will be able to cover your all the costs. That is variable plus fixed.
I think that's the. So let me give it with an example. So let's say your unit cost is 100. So let's make some assumptions, and the assumptions are important. So your plant capacity is, let's say, 1,000 units a month. And your variable cost is, let's say, 600. And your fixed cost, when it is on a total, you spend something like, let's say, 4 lakhs. So what is your break-even point? Your variable cost is, let's say, 6,000. What is your break-even point? Hmm? 4 lakhs? How many units do you have to make to break even? Your variable cost is 6,000. And your total fixed cost per month. Hmm? So let's say it is 9,000. Or let's say, let's be more, okay, 9,000. 9,000. Okay. What is your break-even point? Huh? 134 units. How?
3,000 divided by, 4 lakhs divided by 3,000.
4 lakhs divided by
3,000. So I've taken that contribution per unit as 3,000. So that's good.
Yeah. Good maths. Correct. So, is this a good situation to be in or a bad situation to be in?
It's actually very bad because your plan.
Why is it bad?
I take as 3 angles.
So 133 pieces per month.
What's the capacity?
The capacity you are utilizing as 13% plant capacity. Ideal plant capacity, apart from all those normal practical, it should be in the range of say 60 to 80%.
Don't look at it from a plant capacity point of view. Look at it from a break-even point of view.
then it becomes a very low number. Then the break even is much more faster, I can say.
So the break even is 133 pieces only. If you sell 133 pieces in a plant having a capacity of 1000 units a month, is this a good situation or not a good
It's
situation?
a good idea.
It is a very good situation from a purely plant utilization point of view. So let's imagine a situation that instead of there is one less zero in this. Your margin is only 300 rupees. What happens?
And it becomes 1330.
Which is more than your capacity. So let's say the margin, the selling price of that is, let's say 7,000. So it is 4 lakhs divided by
4,000 units. Yeah, 4,000 units.
4,000 units. So fundamentally, the lower the quantity you need to produce to break even, the better it is. And also, it's not only from a capacity point of view, it is from the point of view of what is your demand. If let's say you, 133 pieces per month, if the total market size was only, let's say, 250 pieces, is this a good situation to be in? No. So you have to look at it from that angle also. That if you are very, very high, but if the total market is, let's say, 2,000 units, incidentally, if the total market size is 200 or 250 and you build a plant of 1,000 units, then somebody should be asking questions. But if it is 2,000 units and you build a plant of 1,000 units, you are okay. So 2,000 and 133 pieces for break even, you are in a good situation. So is the funda of break even very clear? No doubts? We can do a pop quiz on that now. Okay.
Does this include GST?
GST is a pass-through, it's a cost, it's not a cost.
So like for example, in the end price of 7,000, does it include
Plus everything is plus GST, unless otherwise mentioned.
You say total fixed cost per month. How do you arrive at that?
Okay, we will discuss that. I mean, I'm just throwing a number. Okay. So in the costing, what sensitivities could be there? Any idea? Where your costing could suddenly go haywire. You think that your cost is 100 and suddenly find that it is 120.
Foreign exchange rate.
Foreign exchange rate, good example. Anything else?
Material cost.
Your commodity cost, steel goes up, you have a problem. So should we be tracking this? How many of you track? So what's the price of steel today? Or what's the foreign exchange rupee today? Dollar rupee. Sorry?
69.70.
Okay. And what was it about 10 days or 2 weeks back? Same.
It's fluctuating and came back.
It was from 66 or 67. We have lost more than 5% in the matter of last 1 week. So, now, the reason I raise this is that very often people think that it affects us only when we import. Is that true? So let's say you are buying from US or you're buying from Europe or from China, wherever you are buying, and rupee is depreciated by 5%, and 80% of your bill of material is imported. What happens to your bill of material? It goes up for the 80%. So the balance 20%, nothing happens. Suppose they are not buying from them. Let's say steel. A steel manufacturer, 100% Indian. The iron ore is Indian, the coal is Indian, everything is Indian. Sorry? Okay. Why will he increase this price? Exactly. What happens is we all tend to think that the domestic items is not price elastic when there is a currency change. Today, there is no concept of import license in India. Anybody can import anything, anybody can export anything. So other than situations where there will be some anti-dumping duty and so on and so forth, so forget those situations. But let's talk of a normal situation. So steel, steel is 100% domestic item. There is no foreign, the coal is Indian, the iron ore is Indian, everything is Indian. But they will still increase the price. You know why they will increase the price? Because if, let's say, the global price of steel is $1,000 a ton. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but somewhere in that region for basic steel. So let's say $1,000 a ton. When the rupee was, let's say, 60, and my maths isn't very good, so I will use 60, 70 and so on. So let's say when it was 60, it was 60,000 rupees landed in India, plus whatever that 5% import duty there is, plus whatever is the premium the local guys can get, because with the local guys you don't have to buy large quantities, you can buy small quantity, so your risks are much less and so on. So normally the local guys will always have a premium over there. So let's say all that put together, they arrive at a price of 63,000. Now, when the price rupee becomes 70, suddenly the domestic price is now 70,000 for the imported guy. Add 5% premium, everything. So why would this guy not charge that 10,000 rupees extra?
Opportunity margin. So
It's not opportunity margin. Flip the other thing around. When the rupee strengthens, can he hold on to his original price? So in the commodity business, there is no such thing. It is otherwise called arbitrage. They will not allow the arbitrage. So, and many of these products, the pricing is price on the day of delivery. You only have a quantity contract. So, fundamentally, we must be aware of what things which are going on around us. And forex is just one of the. If suddenly there is a global steel shortage, or suddenly there is a global excess of steel, all this has impact on pricing, whether you are domestic, so again, I am not discussing this from a supply chain angle. I mean, from a supply chain angle, we could discuss so many other factors. But I am saying that when you are trying to build your cost sheet, look at all these factors also. That what is happening around you, what is the impact of foreign exchange. But if you don't track anything, track the movement of foreign exchange, not only of rupee dollar, but also the currency of the country from whom you buy. Because for instance, the Chinese yuan or RMB or whatever it's called, if they have not depreciated or appreciated to the same extent as the Indian rupee, there is a arbitrage of either an opportunity or a threat. Go to the next one, fixed. So what are the fixed costs which you can think of? Manpower. So when you sell, you will be doing a lot of free samples, you will be doing free pilots. You may not, if your machine is being sold at lakh or 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, you won't give out free machines, but you will be doing service jobs on that to show how good your machine is. Who pays for all that? And is that dependent on sales? You may sell, you may not sell. So it's not a variable cost, it's a fixed cost. I come back to the warranty cost. Is it a fixed cost or is it a variable cost? You sure?
Provision for it is fixed. You have to provide for a certain amount of estimate. Actually spend more.
You can spend more or you can spend less. But you have provided for it, no? How about marketing costs?
Is the provision based on the volume show?
Yeah, but estimated volumes. So you may sell more, you may sell less. You may spend more, you may spend less. Your failures could be more than what it is.
Suppose you're selling computers and you decide you want to have, you estimate that you may have 3% computers. That's not, that's fixed to that. Next year, you're only replacing 10, for next year, warranty cost will be that much lower. So there's a certain cost which you can't take it up front as the cost of doing business. So you can't say, okay, warranty is coming, let's go find out what it is. Cost more one thing. That's fixed.
But it's a debatable point. It depends on whether we are conservative in terms of, this is more an accounting entry, whether we are conservative in estimating or we are a cowboy and let's say we'll see what happens. Both things work. Marketing costs, advertising, sales promotion, fixed or variable. Okay. Discounts, fixed or variable. Price discounts. Okay. So any other fixed costs which I have not,
Is R&D cost included in manpower? So that that's another fixed cost.
okay.
New product is a new product. What was the cost?
You have to budget for some product.
It's a fixed cost. So it's interesting how you will budget for that. That's why I said we will wait. How would you, all of you are startups, you guys pay yourself 20,000, 30,000 and your market value is significantly higher than that. Then R&D also should be at the market this thing, no? Everything should be done at market. And till you start selling, I mean again I don't remember the accounting, but I was told that it has recently been changed. In the good old days there used to be something called pre-operative costs. Does it still exist, one? You can. So in the pre-operative, what did this mean? That anything prior to the commissioning of what you are doing, all costs incurred, you take one lump sum and then you depreciate it over a period, over a basis of a formula. It can be per unit, per year, whatever, something you do. But the best way of doing it is to do it on a per unit basis. Now the accounting guys might tell you something else, but that is for the bookkeeping purposes. So let's not confuse bookkeeping with the way we price or cost our product. So let's say the R&D cost of on a market price basis was, let's say, 2 crores and you plan to sell 1,000 units of it. how much is the per unit cost you will assign?
2 crore by
Exactly. That is a large number, or a serious number. Large again is a relative term. If you do not think like this, you will say, I am minting money, I am minting money. You are not minting money. You get the point? Because the next product, you are not going to have the benefit of doing it as a startup. You are going to do it on the basis of a running viable company, paying market prices, doing a lot of things on the way any other competitor of yours will do.
Even personal costs, manpower costs, because it is not a big to be able to pay those charges.
They are paying, they are paying very.
But if somebody quits, you want to go out to get the market, you're going to have to pay market. Nobody's going to come to you and say, I want to use the budget, I'm under. So it's safer always to take that price.
So, Ravi, you want to throw any light on any aspect of what we've been discussing? So, Ravi Chandran will actually be taking a session later on consumer marketing, and he will touch on some other topics also. For donkey's years, he was the managing director of Prestige Pressure Cookers. So he understands the market from the point of view of manufacturing. Also, he understands the business from the point of view of manufacturing, costing, selling, pricing, the whole works. And I specifically requested him to be here today so that if there was any insights to be gained by you guys on what are the cost elements involved, particularly from a consumer marketing point of view, he could add value in that. But the fact that there's only one guy doing some consumer marketing here, and I think you already know that. You've done any of these sessions with them?
Yes.
Yes. So, is there anything you would like to?
Unless they have any questions. No, you actually touched upon the basic things.
So, the multiples and all I gave were right, or was I misleading them?
It's a question of market specific, India, China, US. Europe is generally higher. US is very competitive actually. So the multiples are market driven. You are right. What is normally missed even by the B2B guys is that if my product cost is 10,000, I can sell at 15,000, I make 5,000 rupees profit. No works like that. Unless it is 35,000 to 40,000, you can command, you will never even come anywhere near making a rupee profit. In very large, very well run companies, consumer markets in UK, for instance, many of them may sell to export market. UK is 6-7 times now, which of course includes the taxes. Europe, US for instance will be 3-4. India is around 3.5, 4, 5. So I think what he said is right, 3 to 5 is depending upon the market and the product and the situation. That's not understood by most startup companies come up. The second thing I think what he said is absolutely right. Cost everything from market perspective. Never cost it on the basis of your startup perspective.
See, there are so many unknown costs lurking around the corner that we would not be able to predict what is going to happen. So let's say both in B2B as well as in B2C, there is something called volume discounts. And these are very structured volume discounts. single order X number of pieces, you get so much off. You buy a carton of it, you get so much off. You buy so much minimum per month, you get so much off. You do so much turnover at the end of the year, you get so much off. Now, who has seen 1 year? At the end of 1 year, you don't know whether that guy will achieve it or not achieve it. So will you take it as a cost or you will not take it as a cost? Let's say there is an annual turnover discount. Will we take it as a cost or we will not take it as a cost? Will we provide for it? We will not provide for it. We should provide for it. How will we provide for it?
This is some past data.
No, you must provide for it on the basis of whatever your customer says he will do. If he doesn't achieve it, he is not going to get it. But in good faith, if he achieves it, you need to provide. Otherwise, you will be surprised at the end of the year. So, like this, we can keep talking on and on about costs which are in a consumer product. Suddenly, you might give 1 tube of toothpaste free with one this thing. I don't know what promotion you ran in your business.
You give a car for a
Give a car. But that must have been a lottery, no?
And you still make it.
Huh?
And you still
But that must have been on a lottery basis, not on it.
No, I'm just joking, but what I'm saying is everybody, the free is an important thing. That's what we say.
So there is a cost to that. I remember 15 years back, there was an example of Whirlpool in England. You remember that? It was a fiasco. They came up with some sales promotion that if you buy so much, we will give you free trip to Norway or Sweden or some nonsense like that. Can you believe it? They expected that they will do 50. They landed up giving out 50,000. And this is a true story. This is not something to scare you guys. You go and read about the Whirlpool fiasco. It will come horror stories for designing a sales promotion scheme. So, how do you handle that cost? But that was a mistake. But then those costs are still relevant even if you don't make a mistake. Is there any aspect of what we have discussed today which you would like to touch upon?
If we have a portfolio of products in our company, how do we distribute the cost of, let's say, rent of the space that we have?
You will come up with a formula which is logical and stick to it till you realize that it is not a true representation of. So it doesn't matter. You come up with logic. The logic can be number of people, it can be amount of resources behind that product. It can be anything, and based on that formula, allocate everything. And as time goes on, you will come up with a metric which is very close. You will never get a perfect allocation basis, but you will come as close to it as possible by continuously evaluating that the assumptions you are making is that right or not.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard costs and expenses? Have you heard costs and expenses in the business? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is the difference? Something close to your question. There are costs, there are expenses. What is the differentiation? Huh? What is that?
Renting, paying salaries.
generally they differentiate in cost, which is a very variable to a BOM, bill of material. Expenses are what you said, rents, offices, etc. So when you have divisions within the company, when you have, even without that, you will have this fixed costs which are expenses, fixed expenses, which are not related to any cost. So that what Gopal sir said is right, you must come up with a viable, logical allocation of expenses so that your product can be costed correctly, because that expense will have to be costed. That must get included in the cost. So that's the link. How you do the link depends upon so many factors.
Maybe number of man hours.
There are hundreds of things. There are, as he said, not only we deal with accountants, we also deal with cost accountants. They will tell you many methods.
I have one observation. In spite of all the costs we have estimated, invariably you are going to find it is not always missed something. So I would generally say, plan for some contingency. Suppose a regulation changes. Tomorrow some small regulation changes and you have to do something extra for the cost. So when you are costing the product, you always think also about contingency. Because no matter how good you are, it's going to happen. That's the reality.
What percentage?
Yes, and different components of costing, how much buffers should we keep?
That is what we say. So you should have a buffer in each one. You should have something at the end. That is what.
At least be aware of it. Maybe the market is not there now.
See, it's equivalent to the sensitivity I spoke about. You know, suddenly the dollar swings. The way it has swung in the last 1 week. Okay, and nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, just 2 months back, they were saying that the rupee will become stronger. And today there are some crazy guys who are saying rupee will become 80 by end of the year. So, you don't know. You don't know what is going to happen. Because it's very easy to find logic after the event. Everybody now is saying that the rupee is becoming weaker because of what is happening in Iran or what is happening in Turkey. People didn't know 2 months back what was happening in Turkey or Iran. Very easy to find after the event. So, we don't know these are things which I think it's difficult. We should stick our neck out and hazard guesses.
Apart from external you need to provide internal variables. Example, your own internal projections. Because material, I think what you indicated is zero waste.
I'm assuming that, like I gave the example of fabrication, all that will be, you will
Put some factor there in case of.
and the wastage is more. Okay, good point. If the wastage is more than what you had planned for, it's something.
Variances. Similarly, you may have sales return, external failures or internal reasons. So some contingency will have to be put for all that. So that when the time comes, you have the money to spend.
So this is also an opportunity. We have 3 guys here who can discuss costs across the board, but 3 guys who are experts in marketing and sales. So is there any aspect of costs in sales and marketing which you would like to touch upon right here? Any of you want to take benefit of them being here?
How do you get a number? It's your number B2B. You need to see there is advertising budget. There will be below the line. When you say advertising, you might go on mass media. So you have digital media. So usually we do section by section of each media. That's advertising. You may have sales promotions where you give discounts, but budget products. You may have seasons which are coming. You may want to launch some special edition products to take advantage of season, right? Limited edition offers or something. So each of those campaigns you have to plan based on your product and what you expect. These interventions in marketing, you have to think. If you ask them how to budget, it depends on the case. How much money you have, and based on that, how much extra business you anticipate. Because it's not no fun in just spending and not realizing the value from this. Or are you just looking at getting top of the mind awareness? Are you measuring your advertising in terms of if you go to do a retail audit, for example, and say, can you name the top 3 brands? Does your brand feature in that? Is that important to you? Then you work on that. Right? Ultimately, it has to result in sale. Okay? So, one is on the marketing, advertising, and on the sales promotion to increase sales. The other will be your channel. You want to do the promotion through the channel. You want to add more distributors. You want to expand your territory. So each of that you need to budget for. But generic, what you ask, I'm trying to.
Marketing channel cost.
It's a fixed expense. Marketing and expense is fixed because you will have a benefit across products. And will not. That's why the factor of 3 and 5 are there. You have a certain cost of meals, right? Which is say 1, selling at 5. So making a margin of 4. This margin is used for all your expenses, your fixed expense within your operations, your rent, salaries, energy costs, interest costs, all those, plus external marketing and other costs.
How do you know you're not doing this? The factor is not enough. If they're going to do ad or marketing.
See, at the end of the day, sorry to interrupt, at the end of the day, whatever these multiples only gives you an indicative planned price based on what should be the minimum at which you do. The actual price is based on the value. So the actual price can be significantly higher. It can be lower. If it is lower, you have a problem. If it is higher, good luck. Till some competitor comes along and say, sort of forces you down. But till then, you will get the cream. No?
And what about accidents and costs? Operating costs of this?
Of course. Anything you pay out to the cost as an expense. So the potential liability. So that's why you take insurance. No? So we didn't discuss those kinds of costs. I mean, you have to take liability insurance and you have to take, and those liability insurance, depending on the kind of product you are involved in, can be very high.
In general, I would tell you, startups, one of the things that I have observed is that most companies don't provide marketing. They generally assume it won't cost them. Invariably, the marketing and sales cost will be larger than the a good way to do it is to get together and the products. Also related to the volume of sales. Low volume cost high, high volume cost low. But my advice would be to think through every single actual Gopal said, logically start thinking what are the perhaps you want to sell this phone. If I have to meet 10 distributors, I have to go over to do the dimension. If I have to do this, try to break it down to as many details and imagining what the activities are actually going to do. Because simply saying, I'll get 10% like that, you don't want to find it. And you have tremendous numbers. So the trick here is to visualize exactly what you have to do to get to where you have to go. As much detail as possible. And most of the cost will get everything you get a better idea of what the budget is.
And particularly in the earlier years, in the early years of a startup, percentages won't work in these kinds of expenses.
They're constrained also by the amount of capital. That's the reality of the startups.
Okay? Any other questions?
what percentage of
You categorize into selling the product as to building the product.
That's what the particular.
What I have experienced is that in a startup, you don't really have that kind of prototype. Everybody does it. That is the best thing. You don't know what kind of sales situation you will have. So be flexible. Don't get stuck on so many people. Don't create a functional silos too early.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you guys got something out of it today. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come.
Thank you, Gopal sir. I'm sure all of us would have gained a lot of clarity on the elements of costing, and I'm sure there are more questions in our mind. I also thank the other speakers who have done sessions in the past, and the other speaker who will be taking a session in the future for clarifying our doubts. So, Gopal sir. So maybe in the future we can plan and have a workshop on the same topic to answer all your unanswered questions. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, startups, students and externals who have come here. Thanks for your participation. A small token of appreciation, sir. So please, sir.